get gnoskoed. We will experience it, and it won't be pleasant. At least that's what Jesus is suggesting here. So we need to pay attention to what these words are. I have yet to meet a pastor who knows that there's two different Greek words translated no in the text. Hello, you can't figure it out that way. It is completely confusing. Jesus is talking out of two sides of his mouth in that regard. As we go forward, you'll see this. So we need to do more than just be eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage. In other words, the basics of living and propagating as a human race to continue on. We need to do more than that. Like the days of Noah, they should have been building boats. We ought to be doing more than that. But we don't know what yet. Jesus hasn't shared that part. So, coming forward then, he says in verse 40, picking up in verse 40, then shall two be in the field, and one shall be taken away, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding in the mill, and one shall be taken, and the other left. Okay, so the comparison continues. We have this Noah where, the flood came and everybody's wiped out. Okay, gnoskoed, as I describe it. Everybody got gnoskoed by the flood. And here we have a picture of what it's going to look like when Jesus comes back. That one's taken, one's left. Okay? So, the next verse says, watch therefore. Well, why are we watching? If we can't know. This is the strange. No one knows the day or the hour. Well, why would we watch then? Okay? Watch therefore, for ye know you have ado knowledge, again in the present indicative, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. Okay? So what we're watching for is the clue back in the previous verses regarding the fig tree. See, in Jesus' day, they didn't presently know because the fig tree hadn't blossomed yet. So we're watching, therefore, for the clue to be fulfilled, and therefore we have a context in which the return of Christ will happen, at least a maximum time frame. So anytime after 1948 to 2028, the end of 2028, Jesus could come. That was the time frame we were looking for. Watch therefore. So since 1948, we've known that Jesus is going to be coming within that time frame at some point. So he goes on to say, but know this. Again, the word now is gnosko. Previous verse was ado. No, we know not at the present time, present indicative, when the Lord comes. So let's watch. We got this clue. But know this. Okay? And that phrase, that is horribly translated. It should say, but we know this, meaning gnosko. We know from experience that if the good man of the house had ado knowledge in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. So in this context of watching, therefore, Jesus goes on to say, look, you know from experience that if the man of the house had ado knowledge of when the thief was coming, he'd have watched so he couldn't have gotten, destroyed. Therefore, be ye also ready. So this watching is taking place in regards to what's leading up to Christ's return. Remember, in Revelation, you have a little excerpt, and we'll get to that in the next video, actually, where it says, behold, I come as a thief in the night. Okay? It's almost a direct reference right back to this passage. You would have watched for the thief that came in the night. Okay? Behold, I come as a thief in the night. Watch, therefore. Okay? Be ready. Have an ado readiness. Have a knowledge of what's coming and be ready for it. Therefore, be ye also ready. In such hour as you begin to think about other things, or think not, or not have ado readiness, as I call it, the Son of Man may come. Okay, so, you might be back to eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage. And, next thing you know, Jesus comes. And that's going to be ugly. So have ado readiness is what I call it, this idea of being ready. Watch, therefore, and be ready. He says, therefore be ready. Okay, just as the man of the house, if he knows when the thief's coming in, be ready for it. So we need to be ready for what's coming. When Jesus comes, we need to be ready for it because he's very specific. He says, leading up to this time, it's going to be really bad. Daniel tells us this, that beginning in 1952, when Michael stood up in 1952, coming forward, there's going to be a time of tribulation that is worse than anything the world has ever seen. And it seems that he suggests it gets progressively worse. And so the years shortly before the return of Christ, it gets really bad. Now, I've already discussed the fact there is no rapture, there is no great tribulation, there is a second coming. However, this is a great tragedy. We're all sitting on our hands waiting for us to be raptured out of here so God can pour out his wrath for 7 years on the earth. Some of us, hold to the idea of the middle of the rapture in the middle of the tribulation, or some even at the end. No, there is no great tribulation. Okay, go listen to my other videos before in the context of the first 8. It's one of those. And understand that these things were just all made up. There's no support for them in Scripture. But because we missed some things, we imposed our own beliefs and ideas onto the Scriptures. And so this idea that, somehow we're going to have a 7-year great tribulation, just get rid of that. It's going to cause you a lot of harm and pain. It might even cost you your life. We need to prepare for what's coming. I suspect that from here on out, from about 2012 forward, things are going to get progressively worse. And I have to be very open and honest with you. In this century alone, it's potentially now over 1 million Christians that, specifically that have already been killed. And people are being tortured all over the world. I mean, the worst hell that they'll ever experience is already happening to them. We in the States here kind of sit around, la-di-da. I mean, we don't feel the pain of it. We hear little excerpts here and all that, but see, we can't absorb that. It's like, for example, using abortion as an example. Okay, we can talk in terms of 50 million babies killed. Okay, because our mind has no way to wrap around that. But if I can show you a video of one child being aborted, okay, that's more than I ever want to see. I mean, it's just tragic. I mean, the impact of that is outrageous. And so we react strongly to that. And so the point I'm making is that, we in the States are sitting back and we're seeing all this stuff happening. Our minds can't get wrapped around it. We don't have the capacity to process this. So our minds just kind of have this shell of insulation where we don't really realize what's actually going on already all over the world. But I don't think America is going to miss out. I don't think that we're going to be exempt from this. I think there are specific things, and we may talk about it in this video or the next, that are going to be hitting America as well. So we need to prepare as Christ told us to. Whether or not we ever have issue to come upon us that we need to be prepared for is irrelevant. Jesus gave the statement to prepare. And at least if we prepare, we may be able to help others that didn't prepare as well. And maybe that's something that the church should step up. I mean, where's the 10,000 armed Christians standing on top of the mountain where all the people fled to as ISIS came crushing down on these cities and towns? Maybe we need to start thinking about that. Now, I'm not suggesting that we need to become militant. I'm suggesting that maybe we need to stand up for some people that are going through this. And maybe we should stop just relying on government for everything and somebody else to do it. The church is supposed to be engaged in life in this world. And so, maybe it's time we start thinking about, what we can do for other people. It may not be, standing with a rifle on top of a mountain with somebody that fled. But I'm suggesting that shouldn't be out of the realm of thought and possibility. We need to start considering some of these things. So moving forward then, to verse 45. It says, "Who then is faithful and a wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season?" So this is kind of like a question statement. Who then is the faithful and wise servant? Okay, it's the one whom the Lord hath put in charge over a household or a family, okay, whatever, extended family, whatever the case might be, to give them meat in due season. Now this is the only instruction that we're given by Christ in terms of preparing for his return. Just in the days of Noah, build some boats, okay? He didn't have to give you plans to build the boat. You know how to build boats. Just build boats. And that way, you won't have any issue with the flood. But nobody listened. Noah's building this big boat, and everybody else is just eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage. Well, more is required for the progress and the moving forward of the human race. And now, leading up to Christ's return, a lot of people are going to be in jeopardy if they don't prepare for what's coming. And the only instruction we have from Christ in terms of preparing for that is to give them meat in due season. And I think that's enough. I think any more than that might be counterproductive. This is very simple, because every day you and I do what we need to do in order to progress through life. We eat, drink, and have sustenance and whatnot. Okay? But what he's suggesting here is more than that. He's saying, be prepared to give nourishment and sustenance, which is what meat means. We translate it meat, but it means any kind of supply or whatever it takes for you to provide for your family when the time presents itself. So the time that presents itself is when those supplies aren't going to be available ultimately. When the food is not in the grocery store or available, or whatever, the water, becomes an issue, or whatever the case is, you all know how to prepare. Be prepared for whatever comes. So if those things are no longer available, make sure you're prepared for that. Be prepared to give your household meat in due season. Provision in due season, when the time presents itself, make sure you're ready. Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find him so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. So, Jesus turns this around and says, hey, this is a, job application, resume point to put on your resume, okay? I was prepared with meat in due season. Because if that's what we do when Jesus comes, the suggestion is that he's going to, give you some responsibility during the millennium. And he expands on this later, and we'll get to that. So, what do we do? Well, I think we just need to keep it simple. I suggest to people, the best thing you can do is make sure that you have 2 years of supplies on hand as soon as possible. And then, as you can, build up as many years' supplies as you can. And we're only, 12 years out. Coming up. 12 years this year. September will be the 12-year pre-versary of 2027. So, as we move forward, make sure we have, get 2 years supply as quickly as possible. Okay? See, the difference is that we're not, I'm not being a prepper here. I'm being a Joseph guy. Joseph said, God told Joseph, look, there's a famine coming 7 years from now, and it's going to last for 7 years. Prepare for it. Okay? So what did he do? He took those 7 years in order to stock up, to have food and stuff for the 7 years when they wouldn't have it available. Okay? That's what we're doing. We know Jesus is coming in 2027. We need to prepare for that. And he's told us how. So let's have provisions to get us there. So as we prepare moving forward, once we get, maybe 5 or 7 years of supplies, we might be, 7, 8 years out, I don't know, whatever the case may be. As the day approaches, we can start using up those supplies, and if we have extra, we can share it with others. And so, my suggestion is, whatever God has entrusted to you in terms of resources, get all you can, because there's going to be a lot of people that need help that didn't prepare. So, you can share with them. It's not going to go to waste. It's not like we're, preppers that are, making sure we have stuff stocked up, year after year, and, we never use it up and it goes bad, or we replace it, or just don't worry about it, whatever. I mean, a lot of money's wasted on that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about investing strategically here, as Joseph did, to prepare for the return of Christ, as Christ suggests. We've been given the signs. They continue to happen. Daniel 12 specifically points us to 2027. This is irrefutable stuff. I've argued with the best of them over this, and none of them can undermine it. They have nothing to suggest any different. The scriptures are woven in such a way in Daniel that the information given locks itself into this reality without us having to do anything with it. I mean, it just falls into place. So no pulling from here or there. It's all right there, neatly packaged, and it gives us confirmation of itself within the text in what to do with the time frames that are given there. So, moving on, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to govern, to smite his servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and an hour that he is not aware of. So let me cover that for a moment. So what we see here, let me readjust my chair. He's talking now about the servant that doesn't prepare. Okay? Now, this verse 49 is butchered in translation. It says, and shall begin to govern to smite his fellow servants. Okay? That's ridiculous. Okay? He shall begin by being neglectful to his fellow servants. Okay? And eat and drink with the drunken. So, as in Noah's day, they're just eating and drinking, right? We've got to reference back to that again. So essentially, he's just off doing what the rest of the people are, just eating and drinking. You know, the picture is, hanging out, getting drunk or whatever. As in the days of Noah, eating and drinking. And so here you have a picture of someone who's, being neglectful of the people that God's, given him charge over, his household. And he just goes out and does the eating and drinking thing with the rest of the people that are doing the eating and drinking thing. The Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and an hour that he is not aware of. Okay, so that's the person who is going to be completely unaware when Jesus comes. And we have a whole church full of that. 97%, I think it is, believe in futurism, which talks about a rapture and a 7-year great tribulation, if they have an eschatology at all. I think 97 of them that have an eschatology or an end times belief, it's futurism. And it's a complete lie and pagan. It has no scriptural foundation. And so they're just waiting for the rapture to come and we'll